Assalamu alaikum. I am Suleiman Muhammad Ali, and I am an Islamic banking and finance professional. Whenever I discuss Islamic financial products or give a talk on Islamic banking, there is a common concern raised that how can there be a bank in Islam? Or statements like there is no concept of banking in Islam. When I further probe this question or concern to understand why do people hold such beliefs, I get an answer that since there was no bank or banking in the times of Sahaba, may Allah be pleased with them, hence there cannot be any bank or concept of banking in Islam. To answer this question, first of all, we need to look at many things that we have around us, which were not there in the times of Sahaba. For example, the cars that we drive, the air conditioning that we use, or the mobile phones that we use, all such things were, of course, not there in the time of Sahaba. So, should we just stop using such products? Of course, that is not the answer and that is not the approach. So, what should we do? I mean, with time, of course, there will always be new innovations, products, services, concepts. So, what should be done? Should we reject such innovations or should we accept? What should be our approach? The right approach is that is taken is to compare or analyze all such innovations and products with the given principles or laws of Islam. And if the new innovations and products are in conflict with the given principles of Islamic law, then such products are not to be used or are to be rejected. But in case such products, services, or concepts are not in conflict with the given principles of Islamic law, then there is no harm in using such products, and such products and innovations are acceptable. This is basically the general principle. In the same manner, we need to analyze banking. So, what is banking? Banking is basically a function or a process under which any bank in the world, whether it's a conventional bank or an Islamic bank, performs two basic functions. In the first function, the bank collects funds from people who have excess funds or excess liquidity. These can be individuals and businesses who might have excess savings or positive cash flows. In the second function, the bank deploys the collected funds or disburses the collected funds to sectors or people who are short of funds and require these funds for productive purposes. For example, an individual who might require funds for purchasing a house or housing construction, or a business who might require funds for purchasing raw material for production or for expansion of plant machinery and their factories. In this manner, banks help or play a very efficient role of collecting idle funds in an economy and deploying that idle capital to sectors which require these funds for productive purposes, which in turn results in economic growth, higher production, and higher employment. Hence, banks play a very crucial role of deploying idle funds in an economy to productive uses. Now, if we look at this concept of banking at the very basic level, we cannot see from an Islamic principles perspective or Islamic law perspective that there is anything wrong in this basic concept of banking. This basic concept of collection of funds and then deployment of funds does not contradict the principles of Islamic law. Hence, it is safe to say that the concept of banking is not in contradiction or not in contravention to Islamic law or Islamic principles. Hence, the basic concept of banking is acceptable from Islamic principles perspective. Now the question arises, then why is conventional banking non-compliant? Conventional banking is non-compliant not because it is practicing the basic concept of banking, which is collection of funds and deployment of funds. Conventional banking is non-compliant because it is doing the function of banking or performing the function of banking using a method which is not correct. So it is doing the right thing, but the way they're doing the right thing is incorrect or wrong from Islamic principles perspective or Islamic law perspective. This is because to perform the function of financial intermediation, they use the contracts of loan which involve gain or riba. So it is not a question of whether the banking or the concept of banking is compliant or non-compliant. The concept of banking is compliant, but the way the conventional banks are doing that, uh, performing that function, or the method that they have chosen to perform that function is incorrect or non-compliant as per Islamic law perspective. So they basically use the wrong method to do the right thing. This is very similar to a case where a person is involved in trading of halal goods. For example, a person is trading in rice or cotton or pulses or any other halal goods. So he buys the halal stuff. For example, he buys rice and he sells rice. Now, purchasing and selling or trading of rice is completely Sharia compliant. But in case this trader executes the trading of rice in a manner which is not allowed by Islamic law or Islamic principles, for example, he sells rice without first taking possession of rice, then this becomes bay' qabl al-qabz, or sale of goods without taking possession, which is not allowed in Islam. Or, for example, he executes the trading of rice on forward contract basis or forward sale basis. In such cases also, his transactions will not be compliant, and hence any earnings that he does through these non-compliant transactions will be non-compliant. So, but due to this, we cannot say that the whole trading of rice is non-compliant. The trading of rice in itself is a valid transaction or a valid occupation, but the methods that are being used, for example, bay' qabl al-qabz or forward trading, those methods are wrong or non-compliant. So similar is the case with banking. The concept of banking in itself is not in contravention to Islamic law or Islamic principles. But if the method that is chosen or the way that is chosen to perform that correct function is non-compliant or in contravention to the Islamic principles, then of course that practice of banking, for example, conventional banking, becomes non-compliant or in contravention to the Islamic principles. So we need to clearly differentiate this thing. We need to clearly understand that the concept of banking is acceptable in terms of Islamic law and Islamic principles. But the method, Islam also focuses that the method to perform that right thing should also comply with the laws of Islam or the principles of Islam. I hope this discussion was useful. If you have any questions, you can ask them in the comments and we will be able to discuss in the next video. Jazakallah khair. Assalamu alaikum.